look, I'm keeping Woj, waiting here. He's got more important things to do. Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider. Who, if they called right now, would you hang up the phone to take that call, Woj?
Any number of individuals, Dan.
Well, not that many. I mean, which one would you know? Let's say it had to do with Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie, anybody else. So
I don't think there's anybody who's going to call me this morning that would be engaged in a trade of any of those guys. I think all of those are slow-moving processes. So I don't think there's anything that would be imminent on any of those fronts right now. I think after Ayton, after the action yesterday with DeAndre Ayton signing the offer sheet, getting it matched almost immediately, I think there may be, sometimes these are famous last words around NBA free agency and deals, but I don't sense there's anything that's in the short-term offing among the big names you just mentioned.
DeAndre Ayton signing means what to the other free agents?
Well, you mean the other players who might be traded, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's okay. But it's almost like perpetual free agency. It's like the transfer portal in the NBA. I think it's harder for Phoenix. Not impossible, but I do think it's much harder for them to get involved in a Kevin Durant deal. I don't think Brooklyn necessarily had an interest in doing a sign and trade where they would have gotten Ayton and then extended him. But there would have been perhaps scenarios where Ayton could have gone somewhere else and it would have moved another asset to Brooklyn that maybe they were more interested in. So now you look at Phoenix and you can't trade DeAndre Ayton now. You can't trade Devin Booker. They weren't going to trade Devin Booker. And then you look down the roster. Mikal Bridges is an outstanding young player. Cam Johnson's a good young player. They've got picks. That may not be enough to kind of deliver the massive package that Brooklyn wants for Kevin Durant.
And I don't know if it's posturing, and you'd certainly know better than I would, but I still feel like Kevin Durant starts the season in Brooklyn. Am I way off base here?
It's a very distinct possibility. I think especially because he's got 4 years left on his deal. Kyrie Irving is still under contract for another year. That they don't just have to go do a deal that they don't love, and they don't love anything that's out there right now. And, I think for teams who would trade for a player like Kevin Durant, what you're balancing is if we just kind of gut our team of picks and good players and we bring Kevin Durant in, are we necessarily closer to a championship, or do we have Kevin Durant but not enough around him? There's a balance there, and Brooklyn wants to get back as much as anybody's gotten back for anybody. And so they can keep that posture right now because the season's still a ways away and he's under contract. And so, yeah, I do, Dan, think that it's conceivable that he's back, or at least, maybe at the start of training camp. But these things can change quick. They do. But I think right now the marketplace is, Miami has a difficult time. Miami is another team that would very much like Kevin Durant, but they're limited in the deals they can do. Bam Adebayo can't go to Brooklyn if Ben Simmons is on the roster because they both have those designated rookie max extension deals. You can't have two of those on a roster. So that means you've got to kind of move pieces around and it's made it more complex to get a deal done. Toronto and Brooklyn, Toronto they've shown no inclination that they would put Scotty Barnes, the rookie of the year, in any deal with Brooklyn. I don't think Brooklyn's interested in talking to Toronto about much beyond much about any deal that didn't include Scotty Barnes. Now that's today. Could that be different a week or a month or 5 months from now? Of course it could change. I think that's where they are today in mid-July.
I've asked 4 different NBA insiders, analysts on the show, And all four didn't have a reason or an answer for the following. Why does Kevin Durant want out of Brooklyn?
I'm not going to try to speak for Kevin Durant. I don't think he's shared that certainly hasn't shared it publicly. I think in a very broad sense, I think part of the reason I think part of it is he hasn't liked how it's gone. He didn't like how this year went. But yeah, to sit here and say there's one reason, it's this. I think there's a lot of factors that always contribute to these things, and I think he's going to have to speak to it. I don't want to try to speak for him on it. I think he's going to have to at some point. I would think at some point he's going to address that, but I just think it's been a disappointment. And again, just signed a new 4-year deal this year. I think Golden State winning. I think part of it there's a part of it that I think is the criticism that's come with Golden State winning, the timing of the Warriors winning, and then people sort of looking back at the decision Kevin Durant made, and who he came to Brooklyn with, and how that's gone. I think they're all factors in it, but guys do change their minds. Thinking evolves. It goes back and forth. That's the nature of this stuff. And again, because he's under contract for so long, I do think time is on the Nets side to try to figure this out.
Donovan Mitchell, it feels like they're open for business with Donovan Mitchell. Does Donovan Mitchell want to leave Utah?
I think Donovan Mitchell understands the nature of the business where the Jazz, I think, knowing that they kind of felt like they kind of peaked with the roster they had, and understands that he kind of sees the direction they're going. So I don't think he's resisting the fact that he's in talks. I think he just understands this is the reality of it. And, I think they're not good enough right now. And Danny Ainge has shown, I think with the deal he got for Rudy Gobert, you can see the potential in Utah of having the kind of pool of draft picks that Oklahoma City had. You got essentially five for Gobert, if you want to count Walker Kessler, who was their number one pick this year. But I think you would get a lot you would get picks and players for Donovan Mitchell, and you look around the rest of their roster, there's other guys if you started trading off, and they could be in position to just reboot the whole thing. So I think he's accepting of the reality of where the organization is with stuff.
We're talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider. I want to be fair to you. And it feels like if I ask you these, that you don't want to speculate, because even when you speculate, then people might misconstrue that as being news or a report. So
that's right.
Yeah. So I know you're cautious in doing this, and I respect that. The sense of, and it's hard to ask it without wanting an answer from you, just so it doesn't become, Woj says, it's not Woj, speculates, but even then it's going to be news. So I want to be fair, and I want the audience to know that as well.
Whatever it is, Dan, you can just ask it.
All right, thank you. All right, so the Lakers do what before the end of this, for the start of the season?
I think the Lakers still try to add another guard who can shoot, who can be a playmaker. Buddy Hield in Indiana is somebody they've had interest in. They've talked to the Pacers on him. Eric Gordon in Houston, both of whom also are former Rob Pelinka clients when he was an agent. So he knows them particularly well, kind of knows what he gets with them. I think those are realistic. And then it's, the Kyrie Irving, they did touch base with the Nets on it. There's really not been an ongoing dialogue on that. I think Brooklyn, is dealing with the Durant situation first. And so the price would be much less to try to, and you're not necessarily, those aren't necessarily Westbrook trades either with the other two. So I do think there's a chance they could do something like that. They could also do nothing. But I think the Lakers will also have an opportunity because they have their picks. Once the season starts, there's going to be trade possibilities. So they don't have to gas those assets right now. But again, it may not be what all Laker fans are hoping for, which is Kyrie Irving. But Buddy Hield, Eric Gordon, those are good players, and they would conceivably help the team. So I think those are realistic trade possibilities. That those are guys they've been engaged on. I'm sure there's going to be others that they're checking in on. I know those two specifically, and both of those teams are in rebuilds, Indiana and Houston. So they're okay. They're looking, they'll move those players if they can get back, kind of whatever the pick, whatever it is draft pick wise they would like to get from LA.
Woj, thanks for spending time as always. We appreciate it. And next time, maybe speculate so we can get like a Woj bomb out of this. I could get some publicity. That'd be kind of nice.
You got it. Have a great weekend, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Woj. That's Adrian Wojnarowski. I don't know if Woj picked up on that. I meant that.
Okay. Yep.
Sarcastic.
Anyway,
way.
see ya.
Right.
Back to the phones.
Yeah. Have a great day.